first question is, what inspired you to advocate for important causes such as the one that you're currently petitioning for?
So basically what started it for me personally is I've lost 2 friends to impaired driving. One when I was a teenager, I was 16 years old. My friend Tom was hit head on coming back from his cottage in Gatineau. I lived in Ottawa at the time. So he was hit head on and sent his car into a tree and killed him instantly. Wow. And then I just lost my second friend to another impaired driver in January. She lived in Edmonton, and she was walking on the sidewalk when an impaired driver came up on the curb and struck her and killed her instantly.
Oh.
So
sorry to hear about that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We were really close, so it was hard. I still talk to her mother on Twitter, so that started it for me. But I'd also followed the Marco Muzzo trial very closely, and as a mother, I'm a mother of a 19-year-old myself. So that really touched me because having my kids ripped away would just kill me. So I followed that trial very closely, and I was outraged at not only the trial itself, but the sentence he was given, and then the fact that he was given day parole like 4 years after he got in.
I know, it's crazy. Well, thank you for sharing that with us, and we're very sorry for your losses.
Thank you.
So I guess this kind of goes into what you were already saying, but have you always been a supporter of safe driving, or what changed your mind about its importance? I can take now that it would be because of the loss that you've gone through, for sure.
Yeah, it always was a thing. Like, it always was something I wanted to advocate for. Not only even before my friend got killed, I just happened to see a lot of like close accidents. As a pedestrian before I was driving, I almost got hit a couple times on my bike, etc., walking. So it's always just something I strongly feel about. People should be safely driving all the time, following the laws. There's following the speed limits. There's speed limits for a reason. Not driving impaired, obviously, that was a big, I was happy to see when Mad Canada came out with all their campaigning and the Arrive Alive Sober campaign, just to make young people aware that they're not invincible, no matter how, they may think they are. But a lot of people have that mindset, oh, 1 or 2 drinks don't hurt me, but they don't realize how much it affects them like when it comes to driving a car. So I've always just been a big advocate of people being safe on the roads, not only for themselves, but for other people who are driving as well.
Absolutely.
And have you petitioned for other things before, other than safe driving or specific events?
No, I helped a friend with hers sort of one. She was advocating for animal rights. And that's something I also, not as strongly, but I still love that issue because I'm an animal lover as well. But I didn't lead that petition. I didn't campaign for it. I just kind of, helped her get some signatures. I signed it myself, but I was never in charge of it. I was never directly related to it. Whereas this one, it pretty much feels like I'm the face of the campaign right now. And it's something that I took on myself. I started it myself, and I've reached out to different groups like media, different public figures in Canadian, who live in Canada, different people that I can reach out to, groups like yourselves. I've reached out to Mad Canada. I talk with Jennifer Neville Lake all the time, who is a mother who lost her children in the Muzzo case. So her and I are friends now, actually. We talk a lot. So I basically became, now that I have 75,000 signatures, I'm kind of the face. People call me the face of the revolution, but it's kind of an inside joke. But yeah, I pretty much, this is the only one I've started myself and campaigned really hard for, just because I feel that strongly about it. Obviously, like I said, having a 19-year-old who's also now driving, that makes me really worried because I live in Brampton where we have a lot of accidents and a lot of stunt driving. He lives in Ottawa, which is a little bit safer, obviously, but it's still always a risk. So for me, I just feel really strongly about this because I know how I would feel if my son were taken like that because of somebody's stupidity or recklessness or because they're driving impaired. It would rip my heart out. So I just feel really strongly about this issue, and that's why I decided to start it.
Well, your campaign and petition has been super successful, I've seen, and I hope that it continues to get more signatures, and we've signed it and shared it. So thank you for making it.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. So how do you think parents can be more involved in educating the youth about the dangers of driving?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of times kids are really young when they get their licenses. Obviously, the age is 16 to start driving now. I'd prefer it to be a little bit higher to 18 myself, but Obviously, I don't think that's changing right now. So I think parents have to be really involved in, if they're going to let their kids, first of all, drive their cars, I think they have to sit down and have conversations about what the risks are. And not only based on what can happen if they make a mistake, but the awareness of the other drivers on the road, obviously. Because that's when a lot of accidents happen. It's not, their child making the mistake. It's somebody else coming and killing them because of their stupid decision. Maybe good drivers and they may be safe decision makers, but it's about the conversation, how other people on the road can affect them. And I really think it would be beneficial if parents got their kids to sit down in a group and talk amongst themselves and maybe have a guest speaker that is either a victim of impaired driving or dangerous driving themselves, or someone related that was affected by it. I think that would be an excellent choice for parents and their young drivers to attend together, just because I think they both can learn from it.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And I think part of the issue too is that sometimes parents kind of think, okay, once my kid turns 16, I'm no longer the chauffeur, so just let them do their thing. And some parents are very like just not really wanting to be involved in that. And I think that's part of the problem too.
It is, exactly, because they don't seem to think for some reason how much safety there is involved. And they just let their kids, oh, you can go to the movies by yourself now, go drive yourself there. But it's not about that. It's about the fact that like 5 minutes down the road, somebody could come flying out of nowhere and T-bone them. So
exactly.
It's not, they need to be more involved in keeping track of where they're going with the car and what time of day, just because of the risk factors involved. It's always more dangerous at night, I find. And as well, if they're taking highways or main busy roads, that's more of a risk factor as well.
Absolutely. So, do you think the laws for street racing or stunt driving should be stricter, and what do you think they should be?
Absolutely. First of all, stunt driving and street racing are only ticketable offenses right now, unless they cause injury or death in a related accident. But right now, themselves on their own are not even offenses under the criminal code. So that's one of the things I'm advocating for in my petition, is to make stunt driving and street racing criminal offenses under the code. Right now, on their own, like I said, they can only be charged tickets or a summons to go appear in court. But it's not the same as having, being charged with impaired causing harm or dangerous driving causing harm like Brady Robertson was. It's not the same effect at all. Basically, half the time the cops don't show up. So they either, win the fight, or the ticket gets thrown out or what have you. So I think it's really important that stunt driving and street racing be considered criminal offenses. It's just ridiculous the amount of stunt driving I see around here. Brampton's really bad for it. I'm not sure why, but we have a lot of issues with that around here. I live beside Mount Pleasant GO Station. I live right beside Beauvais, which is a really busy main road. And on the other side towards Georgetown, I live on, there's Mississauga Road, which is also at nighttime. They use it for street racing, like all night long. I can hear them screeching.
Wow.
So it's a factor too where the cops need to have more awareness of patrolling those areas. But yes, overall, they need to be much stricter. They need to be more than just tickets and fines. And as well, for the impounding factor and the car license suspension. Right now, on their first offense, it only gets taken away for 7 days, which is nothing.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see that increase to a 3-month first offense. And then if they continue with second and third offenses, it would be like a year, or, year impounding, or a year license suspension along with jail time. Right now, unless they cause someone injury or death, stunt driving and street racing on their own, they can basically just fight a ticket, and that's absolutely absurd in my opinion.
I totally agree with you there. So we've spoken to a lot of professional stunt drivers, people who are in Fast and Furious and do all of the stunt performances in those movies. And those individuals, they put in a lot of work and effort and time and training into perfecting their art, and it is an art. And what they've told us is that they don't like the term stunt driving, because what they do is stunt driving and it's planned out and meticulous. So do you have a suggestion for another term that law enforcement could use to describe the same behavior while still respecting the work that the professionals do?
Yeah, for me, I can understand their point. I mean, stunt driving takes a lot of training, especially if you're working on movie or TV sets. It is something that takes a lot of, practice, a lot of training, and a lot of dedication to, excelling at that craft, let's say. So I think reckless driving covers it. Right now under the criminal code, there is no charge for reckless driving. It's included under dangerous driving or careless driving. So I think if you separate reckless driving and have it cover that specific charges right now, that would be a better idea. Street racing is another topic on its own. Street racing is a little bit different from stunt driving. But I think reckless driving would be a better description of it, because that's basically what it is. They're making a reckless decision to undertake a dangerous act, right?
For sure. Well, thank you for that, because like we've asked people and they'll say, oh, it's stupid or it's dumb, but to have an actual kind of answer like that is very helpful.
Yeah, no, reckless driving I think would cover it well, just because I said they're making a decision to take part in a dangerous, reckless act that may affect others. They don't know that it will or will not happen, right? Exactly. So in my opinion, reckless driving would cover it better than stunt driving, because when you think about stunt driving just by saying the words, that's what I picture, is somebody in the Fast and the Furious movie or racing in a TV show kind of thing, where it's meant for that reason. So stunt driving is kind of like Hollywood version, of what actually happens. So I think a better term would be reckless driving.
For sure.
Agreeable, yeah. Do you know of any issues, or do you feel strongly about any issues that do you think we as an organization should focus on in the future, about like making a campaign around, similar to our campaign right now, which is anti-street racing, anti-stunt driving?
Yeah, I think that plus tying in with impaired driving is a really important message still. When kids are going to house parties and they're not thinking about their decisions, I know Mad Canada does cover that a lot, but I think it's important that everyone across the country covers it as well, not just them. Because I think a lot of kids, like I said, they think they're invincible. They go to a party, they go to a gathering, they go to a bonfire or whatever, and they think 1 or 2 beers or 1 or 2 coolers and they're fine. Where, especially if they're a teenage girl who doesn't have much weight on her, that's going to affect her more than anyone else. And drinking in general in young people affects them more than anyone else. So I think it's really important to tie that in, that 1 or 2 drinks isn't even acceptable, and tie into the fact that they need to not be afraid to call their parents or call a relative or call a cab, find another way home. Because we've seen from a couple of high publicized cases, and one in particular from 2016, 2017, where the young man, was speeding and driving impaired, killed 3 of his friends and seriously injured a 4th, just because he was going way too fast, driving recklessly, and he was driving impaired. So I think all of it ties together, because look what can happen. In an instant, everyone's world is turned upside down. Suddenly 3 young friends are dead, and now he has to live with that for the rest of his life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you guys very
Thanks
much
so
for
much.
having me.
Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Quinn. You too. Appreciate
Bye-bye.
it, guys. Bye.
Bye.